Good afternoon and welcome to the February 25th Oklahoma City Planning Commission meeting. If you have pagers or cell phones, similar devices, if you would turn those off or silence them now, we would appreciate you doing so. If you are not the applicant and you wish to speak to us about a case today, there are sign-up sheets on the table right outside the chambers here. And if you would give them to our clerk, Cindy, we would be happy to hear you when the case is heard. First order of business is approval of the minutes of the February 11th meeting, Commissioners.
I wasn't here.
Well, we don't have enough, unfortunately. So we'll defer that to our next meeting, I'm afraid. In that case, we'll go to continuance requests, Aubrey.
Okay, we have 5 requests for continuances. Sorry. 5 uncontested requests. I'll read those on the agenda. Would be item B15 for case C6787 to defer to March 10th. Item B16 for case PC 10442 defer to March 10th. Item B17 for case PC 10276 defer to March 24th. Item B18 for PUD 1581 defer to August 25th. And B19 for case C6715 to defer to August 25th.
Did anyone come today to address us on any of those items 15 through 19 on our agenda?
Mr. Chairman, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive. On item 15, it was originally requested to be moved to March 10th. At the request of Commissioner Irwin, he will not be here until March 24th. So rather than March 10th, I'd request that that get pushed to March 24th.
You're telling me he won't be here until the second meeting in March?
That's correct.
And you're going to request a continuance of item 9 today to the same date?
Mr. Irwin made that request. But yes, to the same date.
I have a lot of them. Do we want to have C6787 on the same day, or do we want that to follow?
We can follow. We're fine with pushing.
Which would be the first meeting in May then? No, April. April, excuse me.
That's fine with us.
All right. Okay, do we know the date? I don't offhand. I'm trying to think of what April 1st is this year. Did you sign up?
I did, sir.
Will you just wait for us? April 14th for item 15. Okay. With that change, Commissioners, no one else has spoken up, so motion to continue items 15 through 19, changing the date on item 15 to April 15th.
So moved.
14th, I'm sorry. Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue items 15 through 19. As read, cast your votes. That's approved. Okay, who's on? Todd Eilers should be off. There we go. Thank you. Now, additional continuance requests.
We have case B9 for PC 10437 to defer to March 24th.
Now we have several people who would like to talk to us about item 9. So since you stood up first, you might as well come up.
I'm Sherry Compton. I'm from the Mustang Creek Homeowners Association. My address is 10604 Southwest 21st Street, Yukon, Oklahoma. It's our understanding that Mr. Grubbs has hired an attorney regarding these 2 items that are before the Planning Commission.
That would be Mr. Box.
Mr. Box. And Mr. Box has emailed myself as well as the president of the HOA requesting a meeting with our residents regarding this. We would like to offer him a spot at our annual meeting, which is not until April 30th, to be on our agenda and discuss with the residents present both of these issues that are going on.
Okay.
And we still stand where we always have been on this, that we'd like to see it denied because of the traffic issues that are going on Sarah. So if you would like to attend our annual, then we would request a continuance to the first meeting in May, which I believe is May the 11th.
As a practical matter, is there any way to get a group of your neighbors together in advance of that?
I could try. It's hard to get them
Just a
together
question.
for
I mean,
anything.
My question isn't deciding anything, it is merely a question.
I could give it a try. We had 25 at the Turnpike meeting the other night, so, no, that's our request.
Things are interesting in your area right now.
They are very interesting over there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Rodney Rowe, if I hope I said that correctly.
Rodney Rowe, 10744 Southwest 21st Street. I also live in the Mustang Creek area. I just have a couple questions.
Sure.
First being, is there a limit on the number of times it's going to be continued? Speaking for some of us, we're constantly missing work. I don't know if that's the purpose of continuing so that we eventually don't show up, or how that works. Seems kind of...
It is a burden on you, and I agree it is. The request initially came because Commissioner Irwin, who represents your Ward 3 area, is not able to be here and wants to participate.
Yes, sir.
We typically, as a courtesy to fellow commissioners, will grant a request like that, unless there's some extenuating circumstance. So, I mean, normally we would be going forward to hear this because we don't think that just unending continuance is appropriate either.
Yes, sir. Okay, so that answers my next question. There's no way to make the next time the final time unless they agree upon that.
Well, it can be made a final time if we vote.
Understandable. So we'll hope for that.
That's how we make it a final time.
Okay. The next thing to bring up is we keep doing these continuances based on the fact that I guess we're waiting on a traffic study. This time we're waiting for Mr. Irwin. I understand that. I feel like everybody's being put on hold because the consulting company didn't do their homework before they brought this to the board. And I feel like, I don't really know how to word it, but I just feel like that the fault should be on them instead of us continuing to come time after time to appease them, I guess would be the best word for that.
I can't disagree.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And as far as the traffic study, I just ask you, when it does come to time, hopefully I'm here, to keep in mind that there has already been numerous other areas already approved to build on, and so I consider any traffic study null and void until those homes are either accounted for in the traffic study or already built. I don't know if that's the process, but I sure hope it is.
I noted in Commissioner Irwin's email asking that this matter be continued, that he had indicated that he had asked staff to contact those people that they were able to contact ahead of time. And that's kind of a difficult and delicate thing for us because until we vote to allow it to be continued, it really hasn't been continued. And so you have to make that decision about whether to come or not. And I think we are all very aware and sensitive to how cumbersome that can be for people who do want to appear and be heard. And I do appreciate you coming down today and being here, and we will very much keep that in mind.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
To follow on what Commissioner Powers has said, we also realize this is oftentimes the first and only time many people intersect with the city.
Yes, sir.
And so we try to be respectful to all parties in these processes and make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be heard. So we go out of our way to try and do that as well. And sometimes it means things take longer than efficiency alone might dictate. Just
That's understandable. Can I ask one more question?
Go right ahead.
If nobody is here, but we have sent in an opposition to it, I noticed last time you would say, is there anybody opposed? No. Motion, or then you vote. Do we have to be here every time? Or is our first letter of opposition considered enough?
You don't have to be here every time. We do, and obviously in a case like this, we're well aware of your concerns.
Yes, sir.
I always think if you can be here, it's a good thing. Just because we don't, I ask the question, as you might hear me do, is there anyone here to protest? And they'll say no. It does not necessarily mean it's going to be approved. It just means the public discussion is probably wrapped up at that point.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
The point that I started to make, I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought, was that if you'll make sure that staff has your name and a number to reach you, then at least if there's any question about it being continued, you'll know that in advance.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And Zach Dudley?
Hi, my name is Zach Dudley. I'm also a resident of Mustang Creek. My address is 2105 Redbud Creek Avenue in Yukon, Oklahoma. And I'm also coming in regard to this application for rezoning. And I know the traffic issues have been brought before the Planning Commission before. Really, I just kind of wanted to reemphasize those issues, specifically the close proximity to the Mustang Creek Addition entrance as the Wild Horse Meadows entrance. It's less than the suggested 500 feet. It's actually really, really close. It would make getting in and out of our neighborhood, especially in the morning traffic time when you're all trying to go the same direction, quite difficult. And even in a broader scope outside of the Mustang Creek Addition, specifically the area between Southwest 15th and Southwest 29th Street, I feel like, in general, our area of the community, which is in Oklahoma City limits, has been neglected as far as infrastructure goes. That area of the metro is one of the fastest growing areas of the metro. And I feel like the infrastructure has undergone some negligence as far as keeping up with the population expansion. For example, there was a new elementary school built between Southwest 29th and Southwest 44th. Traffic comes to a stop at about 2:45 to 3:15. There was no turn lane put in there. That's another, I feel like, oversight in the grand scheme of our community. And I feel like those issues haven't quite been addressed as far as the underlying infrastructure to support the growing population. I like my community, I love it, but I feel like it needs some attention before allowing, another addition on top of two additions that are already currently being developed and numerous others already authorized in that specific area. And I would just like to request that the Planning Commission look at the grand scheme of things, not just the intersection of Southwest 29th, but the total population effect. In the staff report, it mentions...
We're going to hear the whole case
Okay.
in a couple of weeks, so we don't, you've drilled down a little bit more than
Okay.
we would normally do for a continuous discussion.
But that is essentially say I would request that the continuance be denied and, a decision be made on this matter. So
Okay.
That's all I have to
All right.
say.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Any other continuance requests from the public? David, you want to?
Briefly, if I could address the item 9, for the record, David Box 522. Ms. Powers, you made the comment about being aware in advance. That is certainly a valid concern that the Planning Commission has. But for the record, I do want to make sure the Commission knows I spoke to 2 members of the protest personally. I know Mr. Irwin spoke directly to members of the protest personally to let them know that it would be continued so that they didn't drive down here. But they chose to drive down here, which is certainly fine. But I definitely want the Planning Commission to know that we spoke, not only me, but Commissioner Irwin, to let them know that this would be continued. So they were aware in advance of today's.
Just the way the system works.
Sure.
Until we vote to continue it, it's not continued,
Sure.
so.
Absolutely.
As there are no other requests from the public, motion on item 9.
you want to continue it to?
Oh, well, we have a request to continue it beyond that for a neighborhood annual
Right.
meeting, so
So what's your thought there?
But no, we prefer March 29th. I think a month is plenty of time. I can make myself available just about every night.
Okay. Need to do something about your social schedule, David. March 24th is fine. March, is it 29th?
24th is right.
24th? All right.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to continue item 9 to March 24th. Cast your votes. And it's approved.
On to the consent docket.
Consent docket, yes.
I'm going to read these 3 items under consent. Case 1 is C-6796, the final plat of North Penn Addition located north of Northwest 150th and west of North Penn. Item 2 is case C-6784, the final plat of Brookstone Lakes West, Phase 4, located west of Sarah Road and south of Southwest 29th. And case 3 is CE 930 to close a portion of the utility easement located at 902 Northwest 139th Street Parkway.
Did anyone come to address us on items 1, 2, or 3 on our agenda today? Okay.
Move the consent docket. Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Cast your votes, and they're approved.
Under items requiring separate vote, item 4 is DA 24507. It's a lot split deed approval located at 4408 North Stewart Avenue and requesting a variance to subdivision regulations.
Okay, gentlemen?
Thank you, Randall Shaded, for the applicant Sylvester family and Mr. Converse Engineers here. I think you all have this exhibit in front of you.
We
It
do.
might be a little easier to look at. The Sylvesters own this property. It's bounded on the west by the railroad track and an abandoned track on the east, 44th Street Northwest on the north. Irregular shaped track, and they have contracted to sell Tract 1, which is the one that abuts 44th Street. In order to do that, they will retain Tract 2, which has a building, and you may know it as the Melton Art Library building. It's been there a long time. On the west side of both properties is a private access drive. We're asking that you approve a lot split and deed certification. We will meet the recommendations and requirements set out in staff's report. The Tract 1 building, presently 1 and 2 are served by the same water and sewer line. Tract 2 will remain to be served by those 2 lines. Tract 1, we will build new water and sewer separately metered from the 44th Street lines. And I have an access agreement that will burden Tract 1, and that will grant access from Tract 2 along that existing private driveway to 44th Street. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Obviously, we have to have lot split approval in order to conclude this sale and in order to start our construction of the water and sewer line.
No one signed up, Commissioners, and we had 2 variance requests.
I just want to be sure I understood what you're saying. The existing lines that currently serve the existing building will be used to serve the newly created lot, and then you'll run new lines to the existing lot?
No, there are 2, actually there are 2 buildings there now, and there are service lines servicing both buildings, private lines servicing both buildings. That private line will continue to serve the southernmost building, the Melton Library Tract 2.
I see, okay.
And we will construct new service lines off of 44th Street to the Tract 1 building.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Commissioners?
And I do have a draft of an access agreement that I'll leave with the city planner today, or city attorney.
You'll just file that with the county.
I'll file that, yes, probably do that right before the closing.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question. Is there a 4th T, or are there just 3?
3.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
He asked if there were 4 TEs or 3 technical evaluations in the staff report.
I was just looking at the report. If there are no more questions, we move for adoption.
We've got 2 variances.
Oh, I'm sorry. Move for variance number 2, for TE number 2.
We have a motion and a second to approve the variance to TE2. Cast your votes. That's approved.
Move for variance number 3.
We have a motion and a second to approve the variance to TE3. Cast your votes. That's approved.
Move for adoption of the application.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 4. Cast your votes. That's approved. Thank you.
Item 5 is SPUD 866 to rezone 3704 Northwest 14th Street from R1, C3, and SPUD 431 to SPUD 866.
And then- Okay. Give us your name and address, please.
Her name is Mary Zuniga. Is 3704 Northwest 14th Street, Oklahoma City, 73107.
Okay, thank you. And just tell us briefly what you're going to do or how the site is being used and what you want to do with it.
Yeah, we want to do like a driveway.
You say a drive-in, driveway,
Yeah.
parking lot?
Yeah, we want to do a parking lot.
Okay. And that's for parking for your food truck?
Yeah, because we're trying to park them on the back because we want to use it like a parking lot.
Okay. Commissioners, no one has signed up. We have a motion and a second to approve item 5. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 6 is SPUD 877 to rezone 940 Northeast 68th Street from R1 to SPUD 877.
Is the applicant here? Give us your name and address, please.
Colin Williams, 940 Northeast 68.
Okay.
Colin Williams, sorry.
Thank you. One question that a commissioner asked was about the parking arrangement there. What parking have you got there now?
My parking for few tenants that I have,
All right. How many, do you have 3 or 4 units there?
4 units, 1-bedroom units,
Okay. And you've got how many parking spaces? 4 or more than 4?
4.
Okay. Lee, are you familiar with this?
How many parking spaces would be required in the ordinance?
8.
8. So we think 4 is sufficient?
4 is what has historically been there. This is a fourplex that's been there for many years. All the parking is right in front. He's just actually gaining zoning to bring the building into compliance.
Any
If
discussion?
if there's no further discussion, move for adoption.
A motion and a second to approve item 6. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item 7 is C 6800, the final plat of Sarah Park, Section 1, located south of Southwest 29th and east of Sarah Road.
Good afternoon. Kendall Dillon with Craft and Toll, representing the applicant. And final plat, 7 TEs, that we're in agreement with all of them and would just ask for your approval.
No one signed up, Commissioners? We have a motion and a second to approve item 7. Cast your votes. And that's approved. Thank you.
Item 8 is C 6795, the preliminary plat of Quail Lakes Office Park, located south of Northwest 150th and east of North May Avenue.
Good afternoon, Tim Johnson with Johnson Associates, representing the applicant. This is a preliminary plat of 14 acres of land for an office development. We're anticipating starting the first phase, the west half, immediately. The developer is using this property. As you recall, we rezoned this, and it was cut a battle in this area. And so I'm real pleased that this is an office development as opposed to personal storage. So we're going to build a lake in the middle as a water feature, and the client's anxious to move forward. Serenetta Drive will be our primary access for Phase 1, which is the west half. As part of the development to the east of this tract, there's a residential subdivision proposed there, and a preliminary plat was approved quite some time back when the zoning was changed. We anticipate that they're going to be bringing in that red, I think it's Red Bird or Red something street from the north, and it'll line up with our east property line. You can see the curve there. That's a proposed street, and that'll add a second point of ingress and egress from the property. Serenita Drive and 150th Street is about to receive a signal that's being paid for by a ODOT grant.
This is something, Tim, you may not know about, but at Metaluma Avenue and Serenita Avenue,
yes,
they look like they're the same streets. Is there something, reason that there's two different street names there?
The original preliminary on this tract, Mezzaluna, was a curved street that curved up and back down to the south, and it was never completed, but it was platted and named this because it was going to be a contiguous street back towards the east. So that's the way it is today. It was built and platted that way today.
That doesn't confuse anybody?
We don't know. There's nobody there yet.
Thank you.
We do agree with all the technical evaluations.
Tim, I'm back to whether there's going to be access on the east side of this and how. I mean, I'm not seeing anything that suggests, at least the paperwork we've got, that there's another entrance or a road that's going to come down around the east side of that. And then, of course, is it going to be all getting in off private drives or?
Yeah, the plan for the addition is it's all circulated interior through private access drives, very similar to other small residential style office parks like this. We will have a circulating drive that will circulate the entire addition, so if that road to our east, which is off of our property, is not constructed, we'll still meet all circulation requirements for the fire marshal. We are certainly planning for that road to be there, and we've got 2 drives proposed to go out that way.
So you'll have, is it Redbreast that up to the north that's going to come down, or something similar to that, Tim?
Yeah, part of the agreement in the PUD revisions that were done a number of months ago was to align that street with Redbreast.
Because I can see that.
Yeah, and so that was done in the part of the PUD that was submitted, and the preliminary plat that was subsequently approved.
So when that gets completed, you'll have access back out from one of those last 5 lots around there on the east
Right,
side?
our east
2
side
drives?
back up to
Yeah.
the north. Yes.
Okay. So you'll have an access from Serenita, and then one to what may or may not be Redbreast back to the east. Okay.
That's correct.
Do we want a TE providing for that?
Fine with me.
Well, again, it's not a requirement. If we only had one street, and that was Serenita, we could meet all of the circulation requirements.
Why didn't you not show that?
The one, which one, I'm sorry?
There you go.
I think it is shown on the preliminary plat.
Nothing about circulation appears on what we've got.
Okay. Yeah, you're looking at lots and blocks, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't,
Yeah, the drive, we have a drive proposed that will connect at Mezzaluna Boulevard, which is at the southwest corner. And then we have another drive, I'm sorry, I didn't bring this on a board, but we have another drive at the northwest corner. It's shown on there, proposed drive that lines up with the access easements in there. And that's the two drives on Serenita. Yes, there's two access drives shown on the east side, one that lines up here at the southeast corner, and one up near the northwest corner, or northeast corner. I'm sorry.
yeah, please.
And that is the preliminary plat that was submitted. We're getting ready to submit a final plat for the western third of the project, and it'll have those two drives.
Oh, okay, okay.
Matt wants to see it. Okay, Commissioners, no one has signed up. Excuse me, no one has signed up, Commissioners.
Commissioner Ryan?
Yeah.
You didn't show any of that stuff. That's why I asked the question. Thank you.
That's the same question.
So if nobody else has any questions, I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 8. Cast your votes. And it's approved. Thank you, Tim. Number 9 is continued.
9 was continued, so item 10 is SPUD 878 to rezone 3508 North May from C3 to SPUD 878.
Afternoon, Commissioners. John Hunt, 1300 North Harvey. Before the Commission is a fleet sales and service center at the northeast corner of 34th and May. It will serve as an overflow from the Ford dealership, which is also owned by Moore-Norrie LLC at 2800 North I-44. They currently rent a property down the 39th Expressway to do large fleet items and store overflow property. They've purchased this property and would like to create this spud to allow for heavy line work on transmissions, engines, that sort of thing, as well as fleet automobile sales.
Okay, Mr. Hunt, I'm just concerned with one issue with the application, and it appears on page 9 of our staff report, but the language is, the proposed business will be required to contain operating effects, noise, odors, etc., to the inside of the building to the, and here's the language, maximum degree possible and at a minimum within the boundaries of the property. That doesn't feel good to me if I'm a neighbor to the east and that's in my side or backyard.
And I want to make sure I'm looking at the correct portion. Are we on,
I'm on
operational impact, page 9 of 11?
I'm on page 9, I'm item 10, planning, under section 2, and it says operational impact, yes.
Certainly, we do not intend to produce any more noxious odor than what is currently going on there will be much cleaner once operated by more Nori than who is currently operating. It's currently though not I don't know the term for this, almost a shade tree type mechanic that was here that we intend to purchase out, remove the building, create a new facility with appropriate ventilation as opposed to an oil storage sitting outside that comes and gets serviced once a month. We want to have all of this self-contained with proper technology so that the people to the east don't experience any problems.
Now, I understand what's proposed as an improvement and that what's going on there now probably shouldn't be going on there now, or historically. But I'm still concerned about how loose that language is specifically.
I share that concern. I also have concern about, especially light spillover, as we've talked about before. And there is a reference on page 8, under section 1, about the 2 doors that will face the residential neighborhood to the east. And it has sort of similarly loose language. It appears that these doors will be used to access portions of the building that are used for functions that may not be directly related to the main auto repair functions of the site. I have concern about that, about the doors that face to the east into the neighborhood, sort of how they fit into the operation, what they'll be used for, whether that's going to permit, noise and odor and so on as an impact upon the neighbors.
Certainly, and you and I haven't spoken about this particular issue, but I think I generally understand your concerns, and they're ours as well. We want to be good neighbors, help create customers. And so, but then we've got 2 different issues here, so I'll try to go my best remembrance directly over here. If it would make Commissioner Powers feel better that be stricken so that it says that may only be related to the main automobile operation, that is certainly fine. That's what those doors will be used for. As the Commission can see, there's plenty of access on the side, which will be the primary usage for pulling automobiles in and out to be serviced.
I actually don't know what this language means. So whether I want it to say that they'll only be used for that or that they'll never be used for that, I can't say because I don't understand what it means.
Okay. Well, and I apologize. I wasn't trying to reference.
I'm not trying to fault you. I think our concerns are the same, which is impact on the neighbors to the east.
And we share those concerns. Thus, on the staff report, when they said we want to make sure that all lighting is hooded, absolutely, not a problem. We want to make sure there's no loudspeakers allowed. Okay, perfect, fine. We don't want to interfere with the folks to the east as well. Back to the odor issue.
It's not just odor. It could be noise. It could be anything. But what this language says to me is that you can do essentially what you're applying for in terms of the uses anywhere on the site, inside or outside. That's what the language says to me.
Well,
it says, and at a minimum within the site boundaries. So that doesn't restrict you to within the building.
And I would disagree with the interpretation there. I think that's the staff report saying that it's possible that if left unfettered, that these things could create these odors and these sounds. And so as a result, it will be required to contain those operating effects to the inside of the building so that they don't impact the neighborhood to the east.
Well, that's not how I read the language.
I think I would agree with that. I mean, the base zoning is C3, which requires any type of work or activity to be done within the building. The language in the back is just planning's commentary. It's not part of the SPUD.
So could we just pretend like there's a period after the word building so that the proposed business will be required to contain operating effects to the inside of the building, period? I mean,
then let's write them
that's
Yes.
really what we mean.
That was my question.
Janice, you're suggesting a period after the word
Well, I think what JJ's telling us is that's what it actually is supposed to say.
Well,
I mean, this is just part of the staff report's verbiage. It's not a TE. It's not a, maybe it should be a TE.
well, in that case, I'd prefer not to see it, so I'm not confused. Okay, with your modification,
I do have one other question. TE number 3 says that a 15-foot setback must be provided from the east property line, but the layout that we have pictured here shows parking along the east property line, does it not? Or this incorporates our setback. They're so small.
No, I believe, are you looking at, yes. No, if you look down at the bottom, the arrow pointing up to the north, so in fact, the building runs east and west.
Right,
And so on the back is the east.
right.
I think that's what the staff was concerned. They wanted to make certain that that setback from the rear of the building to the fence was 15 feet, which we were completely in
But the
agreement with.
parking goes right up against the fence.
Yeah, the parking can go up to within 5 feet of the property line. The setback we're talking about is the building itself. There'll be a 5-foot landscape buffer between the fence and the parking lot.
Yeah, yeah, so what I'm talking about is this right here.
Parking right here?
Right, yeah. So this is a residential property line right here. Not crazy about that.
okay, Commissioners? Commissioners, any further discussion? No one signed up?
If I may as well, before we put it to a request, hopefully for approval, having read the staff report, and I've spoken with the staff report, all of the Ts they requested we were completely fine with the exception of the sign. We do feel it necessary to have a sign there. It is primarily an overflow business, but what we are talking about is the reality of telling our customers, please head south on North May Avenue. They are going to get lost. They do need some sort of signage besides a simple monument sign in order to be able to properly locate the property so that we can continue to operate a functioning, profitable business. We understand the concern, and so to that end, though, we would like a pole sign. We get the beautification of that area. We are for the beautification of that area and would request that we be allowed to put a 25-foot sign that be the base altered and covered so that it looked like a monument-type sign as opposed to just a traditional pole.
Well, whenever we talk about sign pollution in the city, just two or three sections of road are highlighted. This stretch is one of them, and we have as much sign pollution there as we have anywhere in the city, and to add to it does not appeal to me.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to fly. I think the TE is going to stand the way it is.
As we get improvement along that area, we're going to be looking for improvement in appearance along that area, and it's a changing area. And it is one of the worst-looking sections of road in the city of Oklahoma City.
We do not disagree, and to that end have said to the staff before, wish this initiative would have been taken 30 years ago. However, we can't go back and undo the past, but going forward for the beautification, I mean, I understand the commission's perspective, but we do need some sort of signage to allow us to function as a business, to draw our customers in, so that we can continue to grow the area, generate tax dollars, et cetera.
8 feet high, 100 square feet.
Say again?
8 feet high, 100 square feet.
Yes, and we would request in excess of a monument sign. Again, we understand the give and take, and so we would like a pole sign. We understand the commission's perspective, are willing to give on that. We do believe in the beautification of the area, and as a result, are willing to spend extra money to make something that does, in fact, make the area look better and contribute to the long-term plan going forward. And so perhaps we could...
Your building is going to have some significant signage on it as we see the depiction here, and that's going to help you too. You're going to be a visible business there. I'm not going to go for a pole sign or an elevated sign. It's just, we need to take every step we can where we can, and we have been doing that for a number of years. I wish the sign ordinance had been changed 30 years ago too. That's proved impossible historically to get done.
I would consider a monument sign, I would consider, I said, that is significantly less than 25 feet, but perhaps a little taller than 8. Unfortunately, the applicant is getting a little bit of a, I know we want to improve. I think improvement, if we don't, I agree, no pole sign. I don't have a problem with that. We've got an opportunity. However, they're kind of getting, because of the conditions in the area, and we know we won't be able to get rid of any of those signs down the street, some consideration with respect of what we all know as the pollution there, I think, might be extended. And we might consider a little bit, very minutely larger monument sign. Just a consideration.
What would you suggest?
Maybe 10. I mean, I'm not talking 12 max, something like that. You know, nothing big, but 8's going to get lost. I mean, they're improving the area, but I think 8 is somewhat punitive given what's around them. I would expect if you were out in the country and there was no other signs around, I would not be having this conversation. But I think that area might get a little greater consideration given the overall improvement that they're making to the area. That's just me.
I can live with that as a compromise. I think that makes sense.
10 feet?
12. I think 12.
12?
I think so.
We'd prefer 15.
I don't think that's going to be in your range.
No, the Commissioner says it perfectly, as though we are all for it, and we do intend to spend our money and our sweat and our effort to make it more beautiful. At the same time, you do, as a business, somewhat get lost in the pollution of it, and so in an attempt to try to overcome that and continue to move the area forward.
I'm not going to go 15, even if it was my suggestion.
I
go 12.
think if we're talking 15, that is really pushing it, and I couldn't support it. I think the argument has been made for 10 or 12. I'll even go 12, but, you know, that's 15 is really, really stretching.
Pat, any thoughts?
12 feet.
12 feet. Amend TE to 12 feet for the sign.
Monument sign, 12 feet.
Monument-style sign, 12 feet. Building materials to match the building.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve.
As conditioned.
I'll get you.
Yeah.
We have a second, right? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 10 as conditioned, raising the monument sign height to 12 feet. Cast your votes. And it's approved.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Item 11 is SPUD 879 to rezone 3616 South Harvey Avenue from R1 to SPUD 879.
Hi, I am Hallie Page. I live at 13228 Southeast 104th. We would like to change the zoning from single-family residential to multiple residential and have 4 units.
And it's a single-family residence now?
Originally, it was built, I believe, as a single-family residence. When we purchased it years ago, it was framed for 4 two-bedroom apartments.
Okay.
And my grandfather wouldn't go through the process to get it rezoned, and he said, I'll just let it sit empty, and that's what he's done. Now he's no longer around. We would like to get it occupied.
So you'd like to spruce it up and get it
Yes.
properly zoned?
Yes, it's a little large for one family. It's 2,800 square feet, so it's pretty big, but we would like to get it occupied so it's not just sitting there empty.
Okay. No one signed up, Commissioners, any?
Do you own the property to the south?
Yes,
You do?
Yes.
All the way to Grant?
I own every property connecting to that property.
Okay. Make a motion to approve item number 11.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 11. Cast your votes, and you're approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12 is C-6799, the final plat of Truman, located north of Northeast 10th and west of Eastern Avenue, and requesting a variance to subdivision regulations.
I'm Johnson with Johnson Associates here on behalf of the applicant, the Alliance of Oklahoma City. This is a final plat of the preliminary plat you previously approved. I was made aware earlier this morning about a concern of one of the neighbors to the east. The Truman East Edition, as you can see on the map, was a kind of a little eclectic little replat, and there's maybe 4 homes in there now, maybe a couple more. But there's a home on the corner there that's right across from our exit of Shirley Darrell Drive. They just expressed some concern, said they couldn't make it to the meeting, and I committed to the Alliance that I would convey that. And we'll continue to work with them. I don't know that there's much we can do. We have very little traffic. We have a one-block street. It's not unusual for a street to come out onto another street with a house across the street. And there is some nice trees right there in front. So hopefully it's a perceived concern because our traffic will be very minor, especially with the access in the alleys.
So they're just concerned about the alignment?
Yeah. And that's the only way we could lay this out, is the way we have it. So we only have 3 TEs. One of them is for a variance, the variance to use Shirley Darrell Drive as was approved in the preliminary plat, item number 3.
It was approved in the preliminary?
That's what I recall.
I don't think so.
I believe that
was denied.
that failed. So that street should actually revert back to whatever the number street would be assigned to that. But that motion actually failed.
Yeah.
And so it needs to revert back to the numbered street on there, Tim.
Well, we'll hear it as a variance and vote on it because it's being requested.
Do we
as a
vote
variance.
again?
Pardon?
We vote again on that?
Well, since it's here as a variance request today, so we'll have to vote on it again. It's before us for the second time.
Okay.
Pat?
Are we voting for the variance?
Well, the motion can be either to approve or deny the variance.
Okay. But it depends on how the motion's stated.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, my assumption was that it was already approved, and I apologize, but we did want to name it this. This is something the neighborhood supported, and there are some other named streets east-west in this area. So.
We heard the presentation before.
Tim, we were talking about the issue of the alignment. Since you've got this set up really sort of as 3 rows of lots, is it not possible to push the middle row down and put the street on the north side between the first and middle? I mean, would it not be possible to adjust the alignment? If not, I'm just asking.
I understand what you're saying. The way we set this up is that the houses that are built in Block 1 will face north and face other houses across 13th. And so we put an alley behind that.
I see.
And then flip the houses the other way
I see.
for Shirley Darrell Drive. So that's why we set it up that way. And as I mentioned, these are all rear access drives. The block on the south, Block 3, will be served by an existing alley that's there. And so most of the traffic for the residents will be in the alley. And being 1 block long, it's probably going to be more of a cut-through from the school traffic going back to the west.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure that everyone received the email from Mr. Brian Lapsley, who actually lives, I guess, in that home right there on 13th and what is that?
Missouri.
Yeah, 13th and Missouri, I guess. And in his letter, it's a protest letter.
Right.
And I assume everyone didn't get a copy of it, but his primary concern was that the street 13th didn't line up, and then his concern with picking up children from FD Moon, which we heard that argument last time from a number of people, but I assured him that he could not be here today, and I just wanted to acknowledge that he has sent a protest email, and he's not against the development, and then he was asking what he has to do to get a stop sign, perhaps on Missouri, to break up that flow of traffic so that it's not just a speedway coming through that neighborhood.
Traffic signs are a traffic commission issue. It's not something we approve or consider.
Okay.
But he can make application to the traffic commission for that.
Okay. And then lastly, he just mentioned the infrastructure that needs to be in place.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, action on the variance.
I move we deny the variance.
We have a motion and a second to deny the variance. Cast your votes. It's denied. Motion on the application.
I move the application.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 12. Cast your votes. And that's approved. Thank you, Tim.
Item 13 is a resolution of the Planning Commission amending the bylaws pertaining to the administrative procedure of the Commission.
Anyone have questions on this?
John, do you have a presentation? I'm just kidding.
It's to be introduced at this meeting?
No, it's to adopt.
Adopt.
The only question I had about this, or maybe point to raise, is that if we move to a process where, final plats are just put on the consent agenda, either they're not heard or they're put on the consent agenda, then, we're going to have to be very careful, I guess, about preliminary plats. And there won't be, and maybe this is the point, this sort of, it's not unusual for us to hear preliminary plats where details are left to the next phase to be settled. It's like we'll make that decision between preliminary and final and so on. And since that is so much our process now, I guess I wanted to just double check that we've decided we don't like that process and we're going to do something different and that we're serious about it.
Well, the idea is to get more thought put into the preliminary plats to begin with, and there some key things sometimes, like common areas where there'll be whether amenities will be accessible to residents or if they're just stuck in a corner somewhere because that's the only piece of dirt you can't build a house on. We get to the final plat stage now, and those things are already embedded in the preliminary plat. And we haven't considered some of the, shall we say, finer design issues of residential neighborhood planning and design. And the horse has left the barn, or the train has left the station. We're too late. And I think we probably ought to be doing a little more analysis at the preliminary plat stage. It doesn't eliminate the fact that there can be discussion or changes proposed at a final plat, okay, or in between. It's not saying that.
Okay.
But it's saying if you've got it all together in your preliminary plat and you satisfy the TEs there, so we don't have a whole bunch of carryover TEs where you just didn't do anything about the ones you had in the preliminary plat, we're either ready to go to hear it or it may be on the consent docket.
Now, whether it's on the consent docket or
we're
not.
not necessarily saying that we're not going to hear them.
No,
okay.
It will still go to the city council whether it's on a consent docket or not.
They don't go to.
Yeah, final plats don't go to the city council at all.
At some point in time, the city council adopts the easements and
Well,
accepts.
they'll do that, but they don't actually get into the plat design.
They don't, but they do.
Right.
That's still.
Oh, that doesn't change. No, nothing like that changes at all.
So, since my background is not in construction development, I mean, I've never been a home builder, and I don't have a strong feeling for whether, I mean, we very routinely have professionals come and appear before us who have left all these decisions to be made later. And I guess what we're saying is we don't want you to do that anymore. We don't want you to leave all these decisions to be made later. We want to know, which I'm fine with, if it's feasible, if it's practical. And that's the part I don't have a strong sense of based on personal and professional experience, I guess.
It'll make the process go much faster for them and for the staff and for us if they do consider the things they can at the preliminary plat stage.
And we're thinking that there's kind of a lot of that stuff that they could be doing that they're just not right now.
Yeah, even down to telling us or failing to tell us where the amenities are going to be and what they are. And at the preliminary plat stage, we say things like shall. You shall do this by the... If we get it at all, it's handed to the staff on day of.
Okay.
And that really doesn't give the staff or us any time to, our opportunity even to really consider what and where. And that's poor planning.
Okay.
And some of it's frankly just, say it out loud, lazy. Just not getting it done when it ought to be done.
Okay. So
And-
it's kind of a time and work management issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it impacts the staff as well as us.
Okay.
I think if anything, this is just clarifying that whatever is required of the applicant in the decision of the preliminary plat is followed through on the final plat, and it will not be placed on the agenda until all of that information has been received from the staff so that it can go into your packets.
Yeah, and I don't have any problem with that. For me, I guess the question really was, whether we were going to continue to hear these or whether they were just automatically going to be put on the consent agenda.
No, that's a great, it's a great question.
If everything is approvable with the case, it typically does go on the consent agenda unless it has some outstanding considerations, issues, variances, or technical evaluations with that application, because we always assume that Planning Commission can pull an item from consent, or if someone comes to speak on that case, you can pull it onto the individual considerations section of the staff report. But what the consent docket triggers is that there are no issues and that it's in full compliance. But you still can always pull that to be heard and talk about it in the public meeting.
So more or less you're saying that staff has cleared it and we're not aware of protest, and so it's going on the consent agenda.
And, yeah, that there are no items that we're presenting to you that need to be discussed, considered, or voted upon separately.
Okay.
And you're seeing those now.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see more of
them
as we go forward, and that's part of the point.
Okay.
Not to set, to adopt. Motion to adopt. We have a motion and a second to adopt item 13, the resolution of the commission. Cast your votes, and it is adopted.
And item 14 is an ordinance to be introduced and set for public hearing on March 10th, amending the new subdivision section for rural areas. It's basically establishing height and entry clearance requirements for gates that span a driveway in rural areas. So on March 10th, I think staff will be available if we have any additional questions. That would be the public hearing date for that ordinance.
So we need a motion to set. Okay, we have a motion and a motion and a second to set item 14 for March 10th. Cast your votes. And that is approved.
And the remaining items on the agenda were continued cases.
So Planning Commission members, anything today? Planning Department, Aubrey. Development Services, JJ. Municipal Counselor. Citizens to be heard. And if there's no new business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
We are adjourned.